No, Eggman, no, please, no, this isn't it. Now I know why all of y'all asked me to react to this. The Banlist update for the One Piece TCG is next week. August 12th is a date that we're looking forward to from Bandai to give us a change to the formats that we know and love, aka just the one format of the One Piece TCG, where we will probably see the banning of Black Maria for OP08. That seems to be the most problematic card. Maybe a change to something like RP Law, and maybe also a couple other bannings in maybe something like Black Moria or even something out of blue or yellow. I mean, at this point we have the reject ban, so yellow's kind of mitigated at this point, but maybe there's some preemptive bans to come out to have other leaders kind of lead the way, especially with purple gone, with Black Maria being banned out. Maybe there's some other leaders that can maybe take the top roost that they want to take care of. And that's kind of the video I want to go over today. The Eggman recently posted a video about his predictions for the ban list next week, and a couple of people have DM'd it to me, telling me that he has some insane takes. Now, I've watched a couple of the Eggman's videos. He doesn't strike me as someone that's particularly controversial or super dramatic, so I'm interested to see what he has to say here. But let me know in the comment section down below, what are you predicting is going to get banned in OP08? Again, for us 07 players, this is probably just going to affect the 08 meta. We're probably going to have to wait for that update as per previous ban announcements. So it's going to be a little bit, but for now, we get to see what's going on in the East and the East burn while we kind of sit around in our pretty honestly diverse 07 meta. But again, let me know what you think with some low effort react content in the comment section down below. Let's hop right into the video. OP08 restriction prediction for the One Piece TCG. I rate the rhyming. Now, I was kind of recording through the first like couple seconds and realized that Eggman actually is on the other side. So many of you on my main channel may realize I usually have my camera on there, so I had to quickly kind of switch it around. So let's hop right into the video here. Hop right into it. Okay.
Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and 1 week from today we have a new restriction list announced for the One Piece card game. It's going to be announced for Japan, so it's going to probably affect them before us, but I do think it's a good talking point of what my thoughts are going on into it, and my hopes are that if it does affect OP08, we get it at the beginning of it, because that's what happened with OP07, and the format's just fantastic here for us in the English version. So real quick before we get started, this is an opinion piece. This is just kind of to reflect on data and present my opinions, not really a call for action or complaining. I just do this. Most of my stuff is more factual and just based on evidence.
Okay, I like this. I like that he started off with this, so I immediately know that I don't need to be extremely upset about anything. Okay, all right, good. This isn't this isn't a yelling piece. Okay. I rate this. Hey, kudos to you for saying this. This is good.
But there are some opinions on here, so if you guys have some opinions of your own, love to hear them into the comments below too, and what you guys think are going to be hit for this, and what your thoughts are, I guess, of like the current format and what OP08 looks like in Japan. So anyways, some data. So this is from Noah, which I really appreciate him. If you haven't checked out their YouTube, make sure to do so. I have a link to the description. They do a lot of work for
those of you not realizing what this data is. Okay, so you have all these like top finishes, right, for all these decks at the top. RP Law, obviously, like all the way across the top, insane tops. The bottom is Nami at like one top in Fukuoka and one top in Hokkaido. No, Nami, please. It's like at the bottom here, like right here and right here. Nami players, please. I'm telling you, it really feels like the East does not know how to play Nami or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I will. Okay, you know what? I should caveat that by saying this is OP08 with purple everywhere. Nami is going to struggle. So let me not be completely like overblown here. And to be fair, we also are like a whole meta and everything behind, so we do get to see a lot of the tech kind of come in downstream, and we're able to further capitalize. I don't know though.
Or the Japanese and Asia meta for this card game. So they have a bunch of events that have been happening around the world in that format, and they have all the tops and all the data for it. So I wouldn't be able to have this without them. Please make sure to check them out. Again, really good stuff. So but it really boils down to this is what their format looks like after the Hokkaido and Philippines championships series. But we have 120.
So let me just like remove my video for a second here. Like, you have Law at over 50% of the metagame, lot of Lucci, a lot of Luffy, okay, So Black White Luffy, OPO7 Lucci, NL, and then after that, a little bit of Katakuri, which still surprises me after the reject ban. Bonnie, Kalgar. Kalgar is actually a really strong deck, in my opinion, a really strong deck, and the other kind of makes sense at kind of 8 decks. But Law, I mean Maria is just absolutely dumb in terms of what it can do. I'm actually surprised that Lucci can really kind of stand its own ground with this much Law. I'm wondering if the Law mirrors are actually that interesting, because I know a big thing about a recent video that I saw was that the red mirrors are apparently like interesting or something like that. Like they're interesting enough to have kept like the OPO4 meta and everything going, but I don't know. I don't think people want to watch mirrors all day.
26 Law topping, 53 Lucci, 25 Star Deck, 13 Luffy, 15 NL, 5 Katakuri, 4 Bonnie, 4 Kalgara, and 8 other as well. So you can see that red purple Law is doing really well, and then our second and third are black decks, and then yellow really kind of the second half, the third part from there too. So that's what I've been seeing for this format, and I think it's pretty clear that red purple Law is doing really, really well. Red purple Law was doing so well at the beginning of the OPO7 meta, I had a lot of people say, "Oh, when are you gonna start complaining about Law being too good in OPO7? When are we gonna get hit with it?" And my result with that was mostly, let's see what our meta looks like, because it was a little bit different than OPO7 in Japan, since Sakazuki was still around for most of it, and we just kind of wanted to wait for that data as well. So I also want to mention that none of the new decks are really popping up. We do see like Kalgara getting some tops, but they were mostly in like the beginning part of the format. They haven't really been doing as much in the second half, and they've just been like single bodies for that one too. So it's mostly just been like the same decks that,
honestly, if Law gets banned here, I feel like Kalgar is going to get a bit of a boost. Like Kalgar is a really good deck. It does a lot. Like any deck that can cheat out characters is going to be naturally pretty good, just at a base level. If you can promote or present your opponent with like a level of free value. That's why Dofi is just probably the best blue deck right now. Actually, well, I lied. Arguably it's Nami. Arguably right now in OPO7, Nami is the best blue deck, but out of the traditional blue decks, it's probably just Dofi. That's probably like the closest contender in terms of like best blue deck. It's definitely not Reiju. Reiju's close, but it's definitely not Reiju, while Law is at the top. Boa's just a bit of like a fan favorite deck, not exactly like that high up there, but that's like Western OPO7
happen topping, and not so much of like new stuff being introduced. So not necessarily a bad thing, but just an observation on that side. So and just to kind of compare, so this is OPO7 topping leaders.
Much
These are
better
strictly
spread
from regionals, and we did also have Gen Con here in the States.
So I'm gonna just remove my video here talking on this. So a lot of Lucci, a lot of NL, Bonnie, RP Law, Black White Luffy, Nami, Dofi, Moria, Law. Yeah, I mean, at this point, like if you look at this matchup spread at the top, like with this much Lucy and NL, it's really crazy that Nami isn't better. And I think the only thing holding Nami back is the fact that a lot of people don't want to play Nami. They don't want to realize that Nami, to me, Nami's low-key the best blue deck, right? And it's strictly because not a lot of people want to play Nami. They don't want to learn this angle, and they don't want to learn the Nami matchup. And even if you do learn the Nami matchup, it's still hard for the average player to beat Nami. Like NL is like the closest one. Bonnie gets it for free sometimes if you just play non-cast Zoro. RP Law is obviously the worst matchup. Even with like Black White Luffy, you kind of need to just have like rush eight. Like you need to get rid of your life and play rush aces. And that's like the closest you have. And even like Lucci can struggle if you're not going like back-to-back Morias to present yourself with like a big body. Otherwise, like even 6-cost Brook doesn't do much. So like this meta is really, really good. If you look at the overall percentage spread for Nami, it's actually a really good time if Lucci and NL are going to be at the top. So Nami's like a real sleeper deck right now, going deep in 07.
Just this past weekend, which I was at, but I haven't been able to get all the data for that. So this is a little bit outdated from that, but from what the data that we have, and my experiences from the tournaments that we had this weekend, it still looks around this where we do have a good amount of leaders that are very viable. I think Lucci, Nell, Bonnie, Law, and Luffy are the best 5 leaders in this game, but we also do have some others trickling in, and specifically Nami. I think Nami's been doing really well and did very well this weekend as well. And there's just some good decks that are viable in this format. So this is where, again, like I'm used to for the diversity and where the meta looks like. And again, this is where Japan is. So clearly to me that Law is doing very good, if not best deck in format, and probably tier 0, if not approaching tier 0, just based on the amount of tops and wins that it's been able to get in Asia in general. And then we do have Lucci, Luffy, and Anel kind of like the second backup on that one. So
if someone could let me know in the comment section down below, like what is the Lucci RP Law matchup in 08 like? What is that like? Like I know I understand the matchup as its concept here, but like with Maria with Maria in RP Law, what is that matchup like for Lucci? Like why is it that popular? Is it just because it is the mid-range control deck that can compete? Like do you still need to like have these kind of nut draws to beat RP Law? Because even still, like it's the second most played deck based on tops. So like what's going on there? Anyway, strongest cards in the game. We're getting into the meat of the video.
And so we'll just kind of go over this. These are the cards I think are the strongest cards in the game. I don't think anyone's going to really deny that.
Okay, hard agree. Maria is absolutely insane. Maria is actually one of the most poorly designed cards I've ever seen in the TCG. And I look, I'm coming from Magic here, right? Magic has a really in-depth ban list, multiple formats, multiple ways to play the game. Just over 30 years of cards. I've been playing for 10, and Black Maria, to me, when I'm coming from another TCG into this one, Black Maria is so poorly designed. 3 costs, it's cheap, it's not leader locked, right? Like it's a 2K counter for some reason. Absolutely insane. I don't know, like Bandai has to be one of the most, like Bandai has to be one of the worst card designers I've ever seen. Like coming from another TCG that honestly, relatively speaking, is well managed, I'm surprised that this many people, like more people don't complain about the One Piece TCG. Gecko Moria feels like a little bit more balanced. Like it's a high-end value card that does a lot. It kind of makes sense that a card like this should do a lot. Fair enough. If we need to talk about it getting banned, which I think a lot of people want it banned, it's one of the highest value plays you can make, especially in OPO7. That's fair. It just feels and looks like and designed like a card that should do a lot. Black Maria should not do everything that it does. Gecko Moria doesn't even have a counter on it. What the hell is going on with Black Maria? Like, who designed this card? Right? In comparison to the two, Maria is definitely more egregious in terms of what's going on. Like it's like they overshot the value of purple. It's like Dawn minus effects don't have downside. It's in your benefit to Dawn minus. Actually, that's not a cost anymore. Dawn minusing isn't a cost. It's like trashing cards is an actual cost that a lot of events have to do. That's a real cost. Even like milling cards over from your deck and then bottom decking them back with like black cards, like that's actually a functional cost that makes sense. There's like a resource to be had back and forth here in black, but Dawn minus effects have gotten so ridiculous, or the downside as in being just prevented and negated by cards like this. It's absolutely insane to me where purple is. Like people have complained about yellow triggers for a while, and that's simply from a design perspective, and like you can just make worse triggers, right? You can simply just print worse triggers and just realign yourself, especially if the One Piece TCG goes long term and we decide to explore different formats. Like in the updated formats, you can just have updated triggers, right? Like just more balanced yellow triggers. The purple in its current state is absolutely insane. It's gotten so bad. And yes, purple players have been complaining for a while that their decks have not been good, that purple has not gotten the support it's needed, but this is not the way to do it. You don't just overshadow every other color and just do it better than every other color. Like I feel like most colors should be able to do what every other color does, but with a different downside, right? Like blue has removal, but it bottom decks. Black has removal, but it KOs. It doesn't trash. So like anti-trash protection or whatever. Like purple, like blue also bounces and stuff, right? Like yellow removes things, but like more so through like triggers or on plays or something like it should be balanced that way, right? Every color should be able to do everything just on a different axis, right? Like I don't know. That's how Magic is designed. Most colors these days can do everything. There's a big downside to it depending on how you want to do it. It just makes more sense.
They've been really, really strong and since the release. Black Maria is the new card from OP08. I'm going to read it real quick in case you haven't checked out the meta on the Asian side for what this card does. So activate main once per turn. If you have no other Black Maria, add up to 5 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck rested. Then at the end of your turn, rest Dawn. Return Dawn cards from your field to the Dawn deck until the number of Dawn cards in your field is equal to the number on your opponent's field. So this just lets you recover so much Dawn based on if you use like your leader effect from Red Purple Law. It's also a 2k counter. It's also a 3 cost, so you can play it off your leader effect.
Yep.
Get your Dawn back, and then you'll be able to recover at the end of the turn. It's just a really silly card in a lot of ways. So there's just a lot of decks that, you know, this was supposed to be for the new Animal Kingdom stuff, right? And that's, but they didn't.
Why wasn't it leader locked?
For that to do that. And then you should know what Gecko Moria does. When your opponent plays it on curve and has the setup for it, you feel pretty bad about it. And the fact that it plays 2 cards from your trash is good. The fact that we don't have any restriction for it.
Part of this is like also like, okay, like Gecko Moria being like a generic black card is fine. I think it's just like there's so many different like synergies with it that also could have been better managed. Like what the hell is Rebecca? Right? Like Rebecca being Rebecca feels like it makes Gecko more busted, right? You play out a Gecko, you play you play out a Rebecca, you play out a Spandam, all of a sudden you tutored for something, you filled your graveyard even more, and then you know you play out something like a Rebecca to get something else back. Heck, if you played out a Spandam, you could probably play out a Rob Lucci to further pop some for more things. Like it just feels like with certain cards not being leader locked, it's just poorly managed. Like I don't understand why blue has to be quite literally the most leader locked color or synergy locked color in the game, and then black gets stuff like this for free. Like people talk about like, oh, you can't print blue cards, good blue cards, because Nami will get it. Are you dumb? Do you know anything about what you're talking about? Like, I feel like these people have never played a TCG in their life, and I feel so bad for them because they don't know anything about design. Nothing about design. Like, there's so many cards here could literally just say, if you are playing Thriller Bark Pirates, if you are playing Animal Kingdom Pirates, then this effect goes off. Why can't they do that as they do for blue? They do that so much. If a card is 7 Warlords, if a card has Whitebeard Pirates, they do that so much. And then people are saying, oh, you can't play good blue cards because Nami. Cope, you don't know what you're talking about. That's the worst. That's the laziest excuse I've ever heard in my entire life. And they are now applying it to every other color, and every other person is seeing what happens when you do this when a non-Nami deck exists in other colors. Look at what happens when you don't leader lock and you design cards well. Every card gets played by every deck, and these cards become a problem because you did not. I can't even speak. I can't even speak. It just makes cards like this absolutely busted, universal, and just a severe problem, right? This isn't Kaya, like how Kaya gets played in like many blue decks for filtering and as a 2k counter. This isn't Kaya. This is Black Moria. This is Gecko Moria. It comes down and it literally just brings you back into the game if you're behind, or just severely pushes you ahead. Play it.
That's what's really good. And maybe I kind of jumped the gun, but yeah, for Black Mirror specifically, it breaks Red Purple Law in a lot of ways. It just makes it so they can be really, really greedy with their Dawn minusing, and then they get their Dawn back from playing this 1/3 cost, which again, you don't really, even if you never use this effect, is a 2k in hand, so you don't care about it. And I really think if I was to change this card, I think it should just be restricted to Animal Kingdom Pirate Leaders. Yes. And that's what the consensus for a lot of people I've talked to about is where, this card doesn't need banning necessarily, but in Red Purple Law it's strictly terrible. And the other thing that
I've said this in multiple other videos as well, RP Law is one of the most poorly designed cards as well. Like, why does its ability go off without a legal target? Like, why does the cheat out character effect happen without a legal target on the opponent's side? Why is it that an opponent can have an empty board or a board full of large characters, and then the RP Law cheat out ability still happens? There should be a cost to it. You should not be getting this value for free. Look at something like Dofi. Yes, you cheat out 4 cost characters for 3, but you actually have to spend the 3, and you have to set up the top card of your library, library deck. Sorry, the Magic terms are going to flow, but You have to set up the top card of your deck. You have to play Perona. You have to play different rearrange effects like 3-cost Flamingo. Like, you have to set yourself up to make effects like that work. So it's fine. It does what blue does. And again, it's mono blue. It's not like it's blue and black being able to play removal as well. It's not blue and purple being able to cheat out more Dawn. Like, it is just blue. It bottom decks things, it cheats out 7 Warlords, it floods the board, but if it misses and it doesn't have the setup, or you have multiple pieces of removal, it's not going to get anywhere. So I don't know, like, I don't know why.
For this,
got to design a lot like
never
that.
really done an errata or like a functional errata, like for a nerf for this card game. So because of that, I'm not sure if they'll, you know, crack the seal with this format as well. But I do definitely think that Black Maria and its interaction with Red Purple Law is pretty nasty for what this card game looks like.
Also, they did set that precedence of like pair bans with Digimon. That's like kind of the big thing everyone's talking about as another Bandai managed TCG, where if you're playing one card, you can't play the other card, or something like that. Like, that could be another way to pair ban this, where it's like if you're playing RP Law, you can't play Black Maria. Although that does kind of limits the design space of future purple cards, so it might just be better as an errata to specifically your leader needs to be Animal Kingdom Pirates. So that could be the better way to do it, but pair banning could be a logical way to manage this card. Heck, even Moria could be probably better managed.
And then there's Gecko Moria. It's the highest value card in the game. You get the on-play effects of the cards you play as well, so it does really well. You guys have seen it, like Rob Lucci right now. We can play it. We can play Rebecca in a 2-cost. I
will note, like, a lot of these decks like Rob Lucci, Black White Luffy, heck, any black deck, even Moria to a certain degree. Moria does get a lot of value out of cheating things out, so Moria probably survives a little bit better. But if Gecko Moria gets banned, these decks are dead. These decks are dead. Like, top end, what's the new top end of Lucci? Black White Luffy is so inconsistent already, right? Like, that's the biggest complaint that a lot of people have. Like, if you don't find the cards you need, you brick hard. And a lot of people, they just won't swing in. They'll just build out their board, and all of a sudden they'll start going for lethal, right? Like, it's so easy to play around situations like that. And like, if you don't have Moria, decks like that really just die. They're unplayable. They need more support, and that's kind of the scary thing.
We play Spandam, put some cards, draw a card from our from the top of our deck. Then we play the Spandine from the Rebecca, who was able to play the Rob Lucci from the trash. Like, it's just really silly where we're getting with this guy. It's only going to get worse, I think, as well as we get more and more cards that get into the thresholds for this, and more cards get more synergy with Rebecca as well. And again, like, it's an 8-drop 9k. This card has no business being a 9k, I'll be honest, but I think it should probably be restricted to Thriller Bark leaders like in that way. I do think, like, it's a strong card, and we've seen like Gecko Moria has been doing okay in this format. I do think it's really strong, but there's less leader people on the deck specifically, so I think Rob Lucci still has better numbers overall. But and I also think, like, Black Yellow Luffy really likes this card, and I play that deck a lot, but I also think that it's like an unintended synergy with it, and it would definitely stink for Black Yellow Luffy if this card goes away, but I don't think it's make or break for the deck. You just kind of have to be a little bit more aggressive than this, I think I would disagree. Playing Gecko Moria and bunkering up kind of idea. So I think it'll be interesting to see what this deck what the meta looks like without Moria.
I will say that I disagree with very, like, almost little to no experience playing Black White Luffy, but playing against it with multiple strategies really feels like when you brick, Gecko Moria is like a way that you can kind of come back with, like, you know, back-to-back Morias. I don't know. It really feels like the deck loses its mid-ground or top end without Moria.
I also think Perona is a really cool deck, and I think that if Perona has almost exclusive access to this card, it would make it more viable. And really my worst matchup with when I play Perona is when, like, other decks that can play Gecko Moria play it better than me, kind of thing. But this card's been out for a bit, and I think I don't know. The only thing that I'm worried about with this one too is that they're simply reprinting this card. They're reprinting this card, which means that they at the time thought that this was at the time of printing, right? They thought the card was good, but that doesn't mean they have to get rid of it. But it also means that they might just limit this card to 1 instead of restricting it overall to being only a Thriller Bark. So I hope that doesn't happen, because that just doesn't feel good. It's the same as, like,
the reason, like, I really don't like restrictions is, like, you have to remember that I think a lot of people don't understand this. I think they come from a lot of other TCGs that aren't really handled as well. And I'm going to keep bringing up Magic here because in my opinion, Magic is truly like the best managed TCG out of like many of the top 5. I would say like truly the best managed out of top 5 in my opinion. And restrictions aren't casual friendly. At the end of the day, you have to design a game that casuals have easy access to, can come in, plug and play, and don't have too many hoops to jump through. And when you introduce restrictions, all of a sudden you have someone that comes in that buys a couple of these cards, maybe buys a deck or just is really interested in a character that they identify with off of the anime, the manga, whatever it is, and they can't play it because like something being banned is a lot more clear than something being restricted, only being able to play one card. And it's also a lot harder to manage from a cheating perspective. Because a lot of people could just be playing 2 copies of it, even though one is restricted. Now, obviously, stuff like that is managed with, kind of decklist submissions, but even still, it's like if your opponent's like hiding their hand and like all that stuff, like it just leads to more weird angles. I don't like one copy restrictions. Magic has it for its oldest format, but its oldest format has decks that are worth like $40,000. So that's a whole different ballgame. That's not the most played format. The most played format doesn't play with restrictions. The majority of Magic does not play with restrictions. I don't think it's a good thing for TCGs in general, again, from an accessibility and casual perspective.
Generally, unless the card is like super broken, Bandai doesn't like banning their super rares. So, but real quick, these are just some miscellaneous hits. These are
no, Eggman, no, please, no, this isn't it. Don't do, no, now I know why all of y'all asked me to react to this. This is, no, I'm saying no right now. This is, no, stop it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Nami does good once. Nami does good once. And I'm telling you, Nami's been good for so long. Impel Down All-Stars? Nah, you're cooked. You're cooked. Someone let me know in the comment section down below. You know what? I got to give Eggman a chance here. Because you know, you gave me that caveat in the beginning of the video. So far, he's spoken his mind pretty well. I got to give him a chance. No. But we're not banning Impel Down. Okay, look, I will say out of all things, especially with the current Kuja Pirates package, if Impel Down All-Stars was banned, we'd probably just replace it with the 4 of Perfume Fumer. I'm going to be honest, it's not drawing 2 cards, but it's something, right? Yes, we'd lose that draw 2 trigger, but you'd probably just replace it with the 4 of Perfume Fumer. Definitely not as good, especially with the upside of Impel Down All-Stars where you can get rid of multiple cards in your hand that are just like sticking there. That corner case is actually really powerful where you have like 2-3 Impel Down All-Stars stuck in your hand. You can play one and get rid of the other 2. It's actually a thing. For those of you that play a lot of Nami, it comes up. I love also at the top, don't post this on Twitter without context. So I got to give him a chance. All right, breathe, Chef. Let's give Eggman a chance. He hasn't said anything egregious yet.
They're just more like tiny topics of like other decks. None of these I'm hard campaigning for, so don't just be like, Eggman thinks these should be banned at all. That's not what this is. But these are just kind of like some this miscellaneous like cards that I think are strong in general, and more so just kind of talking about the decks they represent. So.
Okay, fine. Okay, from the top here, before Eggman goes in. Okay, so Rebecca, as I was mentioning, this is a stupid card. This card doesn't make any sense to me. It's a strong card. I wouldn't say it's like, I don't know if I'm ready already, like on the train of it should be banned, but this could have been designed a little bit better. Rebecca's like the wording on it is crazy. Ice Age has been good for a while, no? Like, it took a while though, right? Like Ice Age's whole thing was like, it took a little bit of setup. Wasn't it bad initially? Like I saw this card started to be played like a lot later. Like OPO2, like it wasn't really played for a minute. So, okay, maybe it's just that black has gone really powerful. You're the one who should disappear. This card is mostly for its trigger, right? Like if you have 0 life cards with the top card of your deck onto your life pile, then trash 1 card from your hand. Yeah, this card's probably mostly for its trigger. Like, yeah, it's a free like 3K counter, but like, is that really the problem? Like you can play around that. I think this card is mostly for the trigger, so I'll concede to that. No, No. Nothing should. I've tweeted about this. Nothing gets banned out of Nami. If something gets banned out of Nami, Bandai's a bunch of cowards. Bandai is a bunch of cowards. It's bunch of cowards. I'm telling you right now. It's no. Do not ban anything out of Nami. No, do not ban anything out of Nami. Nami is the only unique deck and design in this game. Nothing else in this game is unique, and I'm being completely honest. There's no alt win condition in this game except for Nami. It is the most interesting deck in this game, objectively speaking, because it is an alternate win condition. If you printed more alternate win conditions...
We talked about Rebecca for a long time.
Don't brand anything out of Nami. Impel Down All-Stars, no. Just because Nami's doing a little bit good. I guess maybe it's because people can argue that, like, yeah, this card isn't exactly played in, I don't know, Ivankov. Something, because I've been playing a lot of Ivankov as an Impel Down type leader. It's not played in Ivankov. As like kind of like an event type Kaya. But no. Yeah, just don't ban this. Pudding is cope. That's cope. This right here, mega copium. If anyone actually unironically believes pudding should be banned, you're cope. No, we shouldn't have decks that sit there with a billion cards in their hand and just sit there and counter you out. That's what Nami is, helping towards an alternate win condition. That's why it's okay uniquely for Nami. But even then, you can force them to have the counters taken out of their hand, but they're not attacking you. With decks like Whitebeard or decks that like just sit back, play control, and they hold up a million cards in their hand, you should be punished for something like pudding. You 110% should be punished. You deserve to be punished. There should be a counter to what you're doing. If you unironically believe pudding should be banned, you're cope. You're lying to yourself. You don't know what you're talking about. Pudding is fine. And that's someone who doesn't even play pudding. That's someone who gets punished by pudding. That's coming from a fellow pudding hater. If you think pudding should be banned, you're cope. Don't lie to yourself. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to yourself. Let me hear it.
This card probably also should have been leader locked to Dressrosa, but
sure,
it is really silly, especially like late game, like being able to play Rebecca to get like a 5-cost slot to play it. Being able to play 2 blockers and cycle 2 cards a hand out of 1 card is really silly. So I think that's been really strong, and just it gets so much combos, has so much synergy with Gekomori. It's been very good. We have Ice Age. Again, none of these I'm hard campaigning for, but -5 is a lot of reduction in this game now. And when this card was released in set 2.
I say like a card like this, especially with like the general like cost reduction that exists in the game, especially like when you see it in stuff like Lucci, like it's actually like a lot easier than it was before. And it surprisingly got there like super fast to deal with like really high bodies, like 8 costs, 9 costs, heck, even 10 costs. It's really like easy with cards like Ice Age to actually deal with characters like that. So maybe that's what it is.
The KO effects were so bad from Black. Like Black was really bad in the first 2 sets. If you guys can't recall, it's like the best color in the game right now. But on release, it was really bad. And so this card didn't see any play. We've gotten some better effects, and now that we have stuff like Rob Lucci, the leader, and also the 4-cost, this card is nuts. It gets so much advantage. You're able to get so much removal with cards, and minusing 5 for 1, I think, is a little bit too overtuned at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if this got hit in some way. We got Great Eruption getting hit with kind of the same idea. With on release, Great Eruption was just bad. It didn't really do anything because we didn't have effects to synergize with it. But now that Black has so many good removal effects, Ice Age has just been, I think, also in a really good spot. So we'll see if anything hits, but we'll see. We also have Impel Down All-Stars. This is mostly for Nami because Nami's been doing really well, and it's interesting because it didn't do really well in Japan for OPO7. In OPO8, it's not doing great, but that's also because Red Purple Laws, it's strictly worse matchup, so it's hard to be able to go for it. But I've been feeling like there's just been too many cards that you've hit out of life that just gain the advantage for Nami.
But that's what Nami needs, though. That's literally a part of Nami's package now, like arguably more so than before. Nami, in my experience, needs to take 4 to 5 life in the entire game now to actually like win the game. You need all of your resources because the average matchup is getting much like worse for Nami. Like a lot of people are cluing in on how to play, so more and more you need to take more of your life. honestly, all 5. I find myself, like, the way I play is I want to take all 5 life. I want every single resource I can given to me, so I have all the information I need to make the right assumptions about what's left in my deck, what I need to play to. Like, you need to. These are the triggers you need. You need triggers in Nami to work. Like, these are the fundamental things that I don't understand, that people complain about. Like, Nami needs these triggers for its deck to function. Just because it's good for Nami doesn't mean it needs to get banned, right? Like, this, it doesn't make, like, think of, like, these are fundamental building blocks to making the alternate win condition work. If you remove them, then the condition doesn't work and the game becomes uninteresting. I don't know why people want to play a game, a TCG, where you can only win one way. There's only one way to win this game. It is taking your opponent's life total to 0 and then attacking them for lethal. That is boring. That will not last forever. You will get tired of that. And I promise you that. Okay, you need alternate ways to win the game. You need alternate ways to access the game, and you need cards that synergize with those things. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm screaming at the moon sometimes, like screaming at the sun, screaming at the sky, because a lot of people that hate on Nami do not play other TCGs, do not play other games, don't understand fundamental game design, and don't know what they're talking about. It's so frustrating. And I'm not saying Eggman doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm not saying that. I'm saying a lot of people that argue against Nami. Eggman so far hasn't said anything necessarily egregious. He's actually backed up a lot of things he said. So kudos to him. Generally ranting about other Nami haters.
And if I was just to pick one out, it'd probably be this card. This card never sees play in its actual archetype of Impel Down or Emporio. The only reason this card is played because of the trigger draw 2. Yes. And I think this card just can go away, right? It's a silly, like, the fact that it just has so much synergy with Nami for what it does, and it's another just good trigger from deck. If I was just to choose a card to remove from the card pool for Nami, this would probably be it. So if they think that Nami might be an issue going into OPO8 with Red Purple Law potentially getting hit, I think something like this, or just one of their cards that their defensive tool. I
will know right now in OPO8, as far as I'm aware, looking through the blue list right now, it's all Wipe Your Pirate support. There's no Nami support in OPO8. There's no card that says draw a card and strictly is good for Nami right now. There are sub options. There's like 1, maybe 2 options. But it's strictly nothing. Nami's getting nothing out of OPO8. There's no new package. There's no new searcher. It's Kuja Pirates. That's it. That's what's happening. Maybe some numbers change. Like, maybe we bring back Mr. 1. Maybe we bring back Zeph. Like, it all depends how the meta really, like, shifts itself out here. But it's the same package. We're not gaining net new cards. Okay?
I think is good. White Snake's also pretty up there, but I'm you know, you have to leave the 2 Dawn open for it, and the trigger effect isn't super good. So
thank you.
I don't know. I'm just saying Impel Down All Stars. We'll see. You guys can say White if I'm Snake's being clowny or not in the comments below. And then you're the one who should disappear. The trigger for this is really dumb too in an L, in the fact that it just like is another leader proc, but it's also just a generic yellow 0 cost event. So I think still like. Anel's not doing maybe as good as I thought it would be in OPO7. It's definitely good, but definitely not.
Yeah, more of a control deck now.
It's the best deck in this format, but the gameplay style is really good. The fact that you can play this as like a 3K counter, because you'll definitely have like a lot of cards in hand, and you'll have some restriction. Like you'll this card will never be dead for you, kind of thing. But I don't know. It's probably not going to get hit, but I just think kind of recognize that Anel is a really good deck in this format too. So, and then we got Pudding kind of sneaking in the bottom there. I don't think it's going to get hit, but I know a lot of people hate this card. So if people complain about it enough, they might hit it. But it's still really, really dumb. It's a dumb card in a lot of ways. So anyways,
I can agree it's a dumb card.
Restriction list, Moria and Maria are...
No, don't sneak in the Impel below, Eggman, please. I'm begging you, don't sneak in the Impel. Don't sneak in the Impel there at the bottom. No. Unless you're just using Impel as like a potential minor hits.
Their leaders in general, I think that'd be a good hit for it. I don't know if they're going to break the seal again on errataing, like using like a nerf errata for cards to circumvent banning or restricting them. They haven't really done that in their card games, and I don't know if they're going to do that. So there are potential minor hits that we talked about, but we'll see. Honestly, like the only one I like, Ice Age and the Impel Down All-Stars, I'd be okay with those cards not being at least at 4 copies in this game, but we'll see. And then also I want it to be live on English OPO8 release. So again, we kind of talked about OPO7 meta being really good. I like being able to have, even if it's just minor, a different format than Japan, so we have at least something different that we can test with and experiment with compared to just kind of knowing what the meta looks like on day one. So like OPO6 I felt like was a really lengthy meta that didn't really change throughout it, just because we knew Sakazuki was getting banned, but it took 3 months for it to happen. So yeah, I really hope they take the what they did for the OPO7 meta and do the same for OPO8. So that's kind of my idea for that one. So and then the predicted Bandai list, so that's what I want, and this is what I think is actually going to happen. I think they're just going to restrict Black Marina 1, to be honest. They don't like banning super rares in any of their games, based on my own experience with it. And the idea with it is that I think they want to say like, oh, any card that you open you can play, and especially since super rares are higher rarity, I think they want to kind of prevent you from saying, oh, you get the good.
So like, as someone who's just harping about like the casual perspective, I can see how that being like a counter argument. Like, first of all, this is like a high value card, so it kind of pushes sales of packs. But also from a casual perspective, like opening up a card, at least having the ability to play it, even as like a one-off copy, is definitely like that middle ground. Still a powerful card. I see the argument. I'm when you word it like that, I see the argument to like restricting it.
Card. Actually, that card's so good you can't play with it. Like the hit in your pack goes away, but if you can play the card at 1, it's technically still a viable hit in a pack. That's my headcanon. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just always what I can agree with that. I can get definitely a lot of like cards that could be just hit to 0, but now there's like stacky 1-ofs because they're super rares kind of thing. So I also think Moria either restricted to 1 or just untouched. It's made it this far, and again, it is getting reprinted in the that's a part of the argument that I didn't even realize. I didn't even think about that Moria is being reprinted. So with that, like, well, I mean, they did do that whole thing with original Whitebeard, where they had a special printing of Whitebeard. I believe it was it the alt or like some type of special printing, and in the middle of it shipping, like the orders went out in the shipping kind of final confirmation process, they banned Whitebeard. And so a lot of people could not get their refunds. They had this leader coming in, and eventually, I think because of that and some other factors, they did ultimately unban it a meta later. But it really left a sour taste in people's mouths. So is this that similar situation? Did they learn from their quote unquote mistake, or is Moria just going to get banned even though it's getting reprinted? Reprint set, so I think that they might just not do anything with it, but again, it could just be restricted to 1, and I don't know when they'd be planning on releasing this. I really do hope it's OPO8 on release. I hope we have our own unique meta, even if it's just like a tiny minor one. So that's really it for this video. I know probably nothing too crazy, but these are just my thoughts, and based on the data that I've been able to go over as well. So that's going to be it. Also, again, make sure to follow Noah on YouTube. I have his links in the description as well. Really good resource as well, and would not be able to make as much of this video without them too. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you all.
So I'm going to, if you're this far in the video, the actual video is linked down below. Give that video, give Eggman's video a watch, give it its like, give it its limelight in the algorithm. I'm definitely going to be mentioning that wherever I post it. But yeah, I think overall, like, good video. I appreciate some of the backup and kind of the data oriented approach to this. Obviously, I don't agree with the blue cards. Y'all know my biased opinion. But I can get behind a lot of the points. I understand where he's coming from, especially when it comes to Impel Down. I do agree Pudding's like a dumb card, but I think it's a necessary evil in this game. I understand a lot of his points. I can get behind them. So I'm not completely upset, but don't ban Impel Down.